the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. It's Thursday, August 11th, 2022. You know what kicks off today? I think DEF CON starts today, which is very exciting because I love DEF CON. It's one of my favorite events. Fortunately, can't be there. I'm in Dallas, Texas. So good morning. Lovely day here in the beautiful city of Dallas, Texas. I hope everyone's having a magnificent, fantastic week. We're going to get into today's show. Make sure to subscribe. Go check out our YouTube channel. Also, your favorite podcast listening platform. Make sure you go subscribe. Find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you like to get your podcast, you'll find us. Make sure to subscribe there. Give us a 5-star rating. Helps boost us up there as well. We've got a packed show today. 6 different stories, a lot of things going on. We'll be talking about ransomware. We'll be talking about the Cisco breach. We're talking about Finland and GitHub, all within today's show. So don't go anywhere. Let's grab our cups of coffee this morning. I've got my double espresso, whatever you're drinking. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it empowers you and drives you through end this week strong. Coffee cup cheers. All right. CyberHubPodcast.com. Find all the latest. Let's get into this one. So an automotive supplier was breached by 3 different ransom gangs in 2 weeks. And it just shows you not that this company per se is negligent, right? Because we don't know all the details yet. We know that there was an initial access broker that had a firewall misconfiguration. They got into the domain controller server and then using an RDP connection. And dual ransomwares is now becoming quite common. Intuitive attack happens within just 2 hours. And that's simply because ransomware as a service, these brokers who are selling, they're going to sell access to the company to however many people that want it. They don't care if it's 2, they don't care if it's 5, they don't care if it's 10. They're in it to make money, and they figure the more ransomwares that are on there, the more likelihood there is that they'll get paid. And so they're just going to do this. This is a report by Sophos where they say that the first incident where they saw 3 separate ransomware actors use the same point of entry to attack a single organization. So after the initial compromise, Lockbit, Hive, and Alpha Black Cat affiliates also gained access to the victim's network on April 20th, May 1st, and May 15th. So all within, under a month respectively. Lockbit and Hive as payloads were distributed across the network using a legitimate PSXAC and a PDQ deploy tools within 2 hours to encrypt more than a dozen systems during each attack. The Lockbit affiliate also stole data and exfiltrated to the Mega Cloud Storage Service. 2 weeks later, on May 15th, while the Automotive IT team was still restoring systems, the Black Hat threat actor also connected to the same management server compromised by Lockbit and Hive and compromised it again. Now, many of you in the comments, I'm pre-recording this, so I can't look at them, but are going to say, wow, how didn't they know? Why did, capabilities of different companies and the way they react to ransomware is very, very different. And so you can probably look that they're trying to just get everything back online and trying to recover. They're not really looking for how people got in. They think they got it handled and they didn't know what was out there. And that just shows you the complexity of ransomware and why it's something that we definitely should be paying attention to. So keep that in mind. Cybercriminals breached Cisco systems and stole data. So Cisco now confirming that there was a data breach in May. The threat actors are claiming that they stole gigabytes of information, but the networking giant said it didn't impact their business at all. The security incident notice and the blog detailing the event was published yesterday by Cisco. The intrusion was detected on May 24th. The company shared its side of the story, and that was after criminals published a list of files allegedly stolen from its systems. According to Cisco, they targeted one of its employees, managed to steal files stored in a box folder associated with that employee's account, as well as an employee authentication data from Active Directory. The company claims the information stored in the box folder was not sensitive and therefore is kind of like, yeah, it could be whatever. The attackers targeted the personal Google account of an employee. The hackers obtained the Cisco's credentials via Chrome, which had been configured to sync passwords. In order to bypass MFAs, the attacker used a technique known as MFA fatigue, where they send a high volume of push requests to the target's mobile device in hopes that they will accept the request, either by accident or in an attempt to silence the notification. The targeted employee also received multiple phone calls over a period of several days where the caller, claiming to be associated with a support organization, attempted to trick them into handing over information. So they really targeted this one employee, kind of put all their eggs on that basket, and were successful. Cisco has attributed this to Russian-linked threat actors as Five Hands and Hello Kitty ransomware, as well as Lapsus. But the ransomware gang, who's really behind this, some claim is China, by the way, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's China. It seems to be more up their wheelhouse. They've been stealing Cisco IP for years now. It'd be no different today. Microsoft has actually confirmed that there's a Dogwalk ZeroDay vulnerability has been exploited. So Microsoft did publish a fix for ZeroDay discovered in 2019 that it originally did not consider a vulnerability. Patching CVE 2022-34713, and formerly known as Dogwalk on Tuesday, in part of Patch Tuesday. According to Microsoft, exploitation of the vulnerability requires that a user open a specially crafted file delivered through a phishing email or a web-based attack. In a web-based attack scenario, an attacker could host a website or leverage a compromised website that accepts or hosts user-provided content containing a specially crafted file designed to exploit the specific vulnerability. An attacker would have no way to force users to visit the website. Instead, an attacker would have to convince users to click a link, typically by the way of an enticement in an email or instant message, and then convince them to open the file. The bug was originally reported to Microsoft by security researcher Imara Rod on December 22nd of 2019. What a different world that was then. Even though a case was opened a day later, Rod said in a blog post, Microsoft eventually declined to fix the issue 6 months later. No security boundaries are being bypassed. The proof of concept doesn't escalate permissions in any way. So Microsoft kind of dismissed that. As they dug into Folina, this kind of came through again. And so now you see that they've actually patched it, and they're confirming that there was an active exploit to this for 3 years. So, took 3 years, but it's done now. Palo Alto Network's firewalls are being targeted for reflective amplified DDoS attacks. Palo Alto is working on the fixes for a reflected amplification denial of service vulnerability that impacts the Pan OS, the platform powering its next-gen firewalls. The company has learned that a threat actor attempted to abuse the firewalls from multiple vendors for a DDoS attack. No additional information appears to be available on these attacks or any impacted companies. Palo Alto recently learned that the reflected denial of service and RDoS attack was identified by a service provider. The attempted attack took advantage of susceptible firewalls from multiple vendors, including Palo Alto. Tracked the CVE 2022-0028 CVSS score of 8.6. The vulnerability exists because of a misconfiguration in the PAN-OS URL filtering policy, allowing a network-based attacker to conduct reflected and amplified TCP DOS attacks. The DOS attack would appear to originate from a Palo Alto Network PA series hardware, VM series, or CN series firewall against an attacker's specified target. Exploitation of the vulnerability, the company notes, requires for specific conditions to be met, like for configuration not typical for URL filtering to be set, and packet-based attack protection and flood protection through CYN cookies to not be enabled. So there's a few of those. To date, Palo Alto has addressed this vulnerability only in PAN-OS 10.1 with the release of the platform 10.1.6H6. Patches for PAN-OS 8.1, 9.0, 9.1, 10.0, and 10.2 are expected to be rolled out next week. So CISA is warning administrators and encouraging them to apply patches and workarounds until the patch is out. GitHub Dependabot is now alerting developers on vulnerable GitHub actions. So GitHub continues to beef up its supply chain security. Understanding code is significant. So the continuous integration and the CI/CD solution that enables users to automate the software build, test, and deployment pipeline. Dependabot is part of the Microsoft-owned subsidiary, continues efforts to secure the software supply chain by notifying users that their source code depends on a package with a security vulnerability, helping keep all dependencies up to date. If your company uses GitHub, this is a great tool. You should probably turn it on and make sure it's integrated into the IDEs and within the CI/CD. The development arrives as GitHub earlier this week. Also opened requests for comment for opt-in that enables package maintainers to sign and verify packages published to NPM in collaboration with the SIG store. So that's also very effective. And finally, the Finland parliament was hit with a cyber attack following the US move to admit the country to NATO. So given the escalation between Russia and Ukraine, one way that NATO has made itself irrelevant, again, is by adding Finland to its list of members. And Finland and Sweden have been admitted. Finland and Sweden have been admitted, but only Finland got the cyber attack. So Biden signed off on it. Out of 23 NATO countries out of 30 have already approved their admission into the alliance. And so let's revive it. The Senate voted 95-1 to admit them, and this was pretty bipartisan. Why not? So Sweden's decision to join NATO was also expressed concern about a possible cyber retaliation here. The Russians looks like to have targeted the Finland parliament with a unsophisticated and very small scale type of cyber attack because they've been really busy in the Ukraine front. So just something for your knowledge, folks. That's it for our show today. We'll be back with a whole lot more on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy Black Hat. For everyone in Vegas, have a great time. And we'll see you guys when you get back. Stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.